This is Laserlight Presents All About the Gig. All right, we're back. This is part 3 of Sustaining Your Success. Back in the house as always. We have Dave Sorelli and Devin Kruger. What's up?
Hey, man.
Hey, man, doing well?
We're back.
Cool. All right, you listeners, we got something special planned for you later. It's called our Helium segment. And well, you know what? You'll figure it out as we go once we introduce it. But we're going to come back. Yeah. We've had a birthday in the house recently, and we have some extra balloons. And we thought, you know what? We're not just going to pop and drop these. We're going to use them, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, cool. All right. Part 3, guys. Sustaining your success. We left off with some excellent points of interest and guidance for where are you, part 1, the beginning. Where are you now, part 2, in the middle. And now we're going to talk about part 3, which is you're an active participant in the world of being a musician, whether you're gigging or self-promoting, putting things together. There's something that I want to speak to first and foremost, which is the topic of the importance of. And I've noticed that you've got some, across all generations, I've seen some very young, teens to early 20s individuals who, in their mind, in their scope, in their world, right, which we all understand. Every decade, our scope and our world expands, but they become most interested in what they want to consider as keeping it real and keeping it authentic. But what I've noticed is that there's some missing elements. There's some gaps in their models. And one of them, most importantly, is social media. If you're going to have a business card, cool. You're going to hand that out. But what's on that card? Here's my number. Here's my direct email, But when you're promoting yourself and you're trying to get these gigs and you want to generate interest and maybe some sort of a pre-approval vetting process, right? Sure. The old school way was, here's a CD. Well, you know what? Maybe, but most likely not. Here's a flash drive of some of our stuff. It's still kind of soft. What's better than saying, here's my web address, if you're going to be up to date and up to the minute, which we all struggle with, versus here's my social media contact. And look at what I've been doing. What have you done? What have you been doing? What are you doing now? What are your aspirations? Let's talk about the importance of how to promote yourself. You're in stage 3. You're active. You've considered yourself beyond the networking, like we talked about in part 2. You've got some sort of circle, inner circle, triple, double tier working for yourself of spiraling out. And that kind of lays into some reliance on others. How do you take that reliance and make it self-promoting? Dave, the importance of a social media contact point.
So your social media should be an extension of your generalized web presence, meaning I see my social media accounts as an extension of my website. Now, the social media is important to reach all these different demographics, and each platform reaches a different demographic with, of course, overlap between some of them. Facebook, more and more, the younger generation, Gen Z and younger, they basically don't use it anymore. They understand that Facebook is more for the 21 to 80-year-old generation. That there's your overlap there. You have mostly millennial, Gen X, boomers on Facebook. Instagram is mostly, now you start to bring in some Gen Z, some older Gen Zs, and millennial and Gen X. And now the newest platform is TikTok. TikTok is the newest platform that is mostly Gen Z and younger, with some millennials scattered in as well. And each and every one of these social medias, as they come and go, they are important to utilize because you are going to reach a large demographic. But at the end of the day, you want all of your content to route through your website first. So these are all extensions of your online persona on your website, and they become tentacles to kind of weave through the web and help generate support and awareness and understanding of your brand on all of these different platforms that you can speak on. So the social media presence is it's a new but not that new thing that we are still navigating through, and unfortunately it's not a permanent thing, and you have to go in with the idea of like, if this goes down tomorrow, if Facebook decides to fold tomorrow, how are you going to keep these contacts? That's why you have to make sure that you have your own website, you have your own points of contact, is because this would not be unprecedented. I know people that, they were maybe 5 or 6 years older than me, and they got a large following on MySpace, and MySpace folded. And they never quite regained that sort of connection base with Facebook. So we are always planning for the next steps.
Yeah,
and
what's the next one to topple, right? It's happening. It's inevitable.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a bit of conglomerate. Like, it already is the pretty much common thought that Facebook is for the older generation. So that's going to kind of fade into kind of obscurity with the younger generation. And right now, the idea of short form video is reigning supreme. So Instagram and TikTok are the supreme platforms for the younger generation. And that's tough, because this requires any older generations that aren't as developed and to the point where they have a team of social media,
engineers,
marketers, working for them. They have to find a way to do that themselves. So all of a sudden, you have to find, how do you navigate TikTok? What kind of content works with this? And how do you create that brand on the next social media platform? And what's going to happen after TikTok? I have no idea, but I can guarantee you there will be something.
Yeah, Devin, to you, the musician, what is TikTok?
Right now, TikTok doesn't do nearly as much for me as a musician. In fact, I've even looked for musical examples there. And as a musician so far, it's more for gags. It's been more of like musical humor, which has been fun to share. And I've seen a couple get on there and they do like a shred video or something like that. But that community, for the most part, seems to have still relegated itself to like Instagram, which is another short form video where, 30 seconds worth of you doing a funk lick or a shred or something like that. That still has stayed strong, where I haven't felt nearly as much of a musical presence on TikTok yet. And I've looked for it. I've looked for tags. I've looked for things.
So 30 seconds to what you're saying.
Yeah.
TikTok is like a matchstick life. It's like,
yeah.
Right.
Instagram's very similar in
30
that
seconds
sense.
and then something.
Yeah, if you like it, awesome. Then you're going to go to my link tree and find my website, which will take you to my Spotify and stuff like that.
So it's a conduit.
You lead with your absolute best foot forward. And like Devin said, right now, TikTok reigns supreme in like the comedic genre. So you want to be like, hey, I can play and I'm funny, sort of thing.
Because the problem is, and we'll make this quick because unfortunately this podcast has a half-life of who knows how long because of how quickly things change.
True.
Yeah.
But currently things like TikTok and platforms chasing that algorithm, they're looking for novelty. The idea is you don't have necessarily a lot of subscriptions or people or things you follow. It's more of it's trying to learn your personality and throw new things at you you've never seen before over and over and over again. Where I think that's why things like Instagram work better for like guitar community or music community, because it's more like you find a handful of people that you like and you follow them and you join communities and then you become part of that. So it's short form content, but it's still community based, like things like Facebook or YouTube, and it's still kind of in that lineage. So it has its foot a little bit in both trees of what we're currently going through.
Yeah.
And speaking of like your Facebooks and YouTube, I think that those are still important to recognize as, yes, social media is always changing. Yes, I need to stay on top of the cusp of whatever's going to come because it's an ever-changing landscape. And I think we are very much still in the early stages of figuring out what you're supposed to do with an online world. we're still in the beginning of that.
Interesting.
But right now, things like Facebook and YouTube, I view as kind of the long stays. Like that will probably be longer than some other fads will come and go. But it also means that they're going to be more like Facebook. I view as like for people who don't want to make a website. This is the website for everyone.
Oh, really?
Everyone has a Facebook page. Every business has a Facebook business page, even if they have a website. So it's kind of like a conglomerate right now where everyone can get to it. It's an easy phone book for everyone. It can be
the horse before the cart.
Yeah. So it's still functioning that way at the moment. We'll see how much longer it does. And then YouTube for me was still like, that's for established artists. So it's like if you're a band who gets like tens of thousands of views on a video, if I find out about your band's name and I YouTube you and I can't find like a live concert feed of you, in a weird way you don't exist to me. And it's like I have to go find that, and I'm expecting it. I'm expecting to find like a live concert view or like a cell phone video or at least something, or maybe you went and did a studio hit and someone recorded that and did like a live stream of it.
So if you're an artist who intends on spending the money and generating a business card, right, for a leave behind or contact me or reach me at, if you're going to spend the money on that card, besides your cell phone contact number, you ought to have something internet based.
You should have something on that card that will lead them as quickly as possible to your content online in a place where hopefully they don't have to log on or there aren't many barriers of entry. Like, believe it or not, Facebook has one issue, which is if you find the lucky person who doesn't have Facebook, they have 0 ways of seeing your content.
Wow.
There are
true.
0 ways to see that content
that.
if you do not have a Facebook.
Right.
Which is good if you have like a YouTube video. Anyone can watch a YouTube video. Any browser in any library can pull up a YouTube video and you can watch it. So it's
an interesting
tricky.
point. So
Facebook works right now because of its ubiquity. They're assuming everyone has one. So you can put a video on there and they should be able to find it. But as it declines, we'll see what happens, because it does have that wall where you can't look at the content unless you have a page.
What I recommend doing always is to have a uniform handle across every single social media presence. So for example, my handle on literally every social media presence I have is @DaveSorelliMusic. It's my name. It's what I do. That's, as simple and to the point as possible. And incidentally, that's also my website, is DaveSorelliMusic.com. So that's just one easy go of it. Put that on your business card, and all of a sudden they have all of your web presence. So if they type into the search bar my name or that one phrase, all of a sudden every single thing will pop up. Or it'll just route you directly to my website, and then you can click on whatever social media platform you want.
Yeah, and I want to address this. So to be clear, social media is its own device, if you will, right? But YouTube, I wouldn't consider that social media. So if you're still of the old school thought, or you're new school but you want to remain in that incognito old school approach, start with YouTube, right? So if you got your card and you've got your direct contact number, maybe put some link for your YouTube.
They will definitely see it. And
like a recording of historic performances.
I know it'll be there, and Google's a huge company, so I have confidence that it'll be there for a long time. And I use it as, this is just where I keep all my online videos. I'm not really worried about growing an audience or anything like that, but I know it's a source that anyone can reach online. Because the problem is, when you're online, if you're interacting with people online on any service, so if you're on TikTok or if you're on Facebook or if you're on Snapchat, if you're communicating with people through that interface, you already have a connection to those people. But if you're meeting people face to face, you have to get them to go the extra mile to get onto a device and then go to a thing, and that's assuming that they can get onto the platform that you're on. So something like YouTube for me is like a safe bet to say, if I meet a guy who's in his 50s, who doesn't do social media and doesn't anything like that, I think he might be able to still type my name into YouTube and figure it out. But at the same time, if I meet a young kid who's not interested in old social media, he might also be able to find my videos. And it's just kind of that safety net for myself at the time. And like, until we all have like virtual reality contact lenses and they can look at your card and a video's hovering above it.
Sure.
Like until we
Right.
live in that future,
Which
like,
is like only a couple weeks away.
of course. Yeah. But
They're
like
getting closer. They are.
until we live there, though, it's
Yeah.
like there's always going to be this gap of like the way that you communicate with people in real life and the way that you hopefully get them to get onto the platforms online. And you have to make that as wide of a net as possible.
So let's,
Which is why Dave mentioned like a website, because
Yeah.
he's not relying on social media. He's saying like,
Yeah.
if all else fails, I still got a website. You can
So-
always put that in.
maybe we put it as this. The 1.0 is start easy, start simple, YouTube, record some things that you're doing, some things that you've done, record multiple things that you're doing, right? Create a channel in your name and get some subscribers there. But 1.5 would be then create your own personal space, your own .com, right? And then 2.0 would be, all right, now I have a YouTube channel, I have my own .com, and now, if I see fit and I think that my model needs more fuel, then I'll start reaching into the social media realm, right?
And the nice thing too is right now is you can use something like YouTube as your video platform. So something like on your website, you can be hosting YouTube videos where you're just treating them like your own personal server, basically.
Sure.
But at the same time, you're collecting views off of every time they go to your website still.
And let's not forget that, like Laserlight has done,
Mhm.
you can have a still photo and a full-on recording of a track. So it's not necessarily video audio based. It can be a still snapshot photo that has, impressed upon it and overlaid your actual audio track. So don't overthink it. Take advantage of these outlets and make the best of how to get yourself out there, and most importantly, promotable. Especially when you're trying to get those gigs, and when you're panhandling your areas and or even extended areas, or let's say you leave the state and you want to pick up and root up in some other residence in some other area. You've got to have something beyond the old school thought of here's a CD or here's a flash drive. No one's got time for that anymore, man.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. It's just, that's just not going to happen. So transitioning, guys, let's talk about, what else does active mean? So if we start with you, Devin, what else does step one's done, step two's done? You've got your circles filled, you've got your feelers out there, you've gotten some soft, some invites, some soft promotable things, and now you want to consider yourself active. What's the mindset behind considering yourself active? So I think we've covered I'm now promotable. I'm self-promotable. I'm reference promotable. But now, thinking about the work ethic, the practice ethic, the training ethic, what else may incorporate active? If you truly want to deem yourself active, how do you see yourself in that present?
I mean, I guess my only qualifier is a pretty simple one. It's kind of like, you have to have a mission statement. And a mission statement for a company that might do a million things still has to be only this long.
Of course. It's got to be, right.
Yeah. And mine has always just been like, as long as your trajectory is upwards trajectory is the most important thing. And that might mean that I falter on certain tasks or building them the way I would like to sometimes, but it's just making sure that there's never a stagnant moment and that it's always going up. Because what I have found is that even if I faltered on a couple of ideas or goals I had, that if I went up, that I can still look back after a full year's happened and go, things have happened. More things happen than I expected. And I'm always surprised by, if I just keep trajectory up, by how much I got accomplished. Yeah. And I'm normally happy with those accomplishments at the end of a year. And I'm not actually disappointed, because it's kind of amazing how, like, even if you miss some goals, if you don't let that bog you down, but you kept the trajectory up, that you still ended up pulling through a bunch of things. And honestly,
Mm-hmm.
with kind of a loose fitting definition like that, you might have accomplished some things that you weren't even planning on.
Okay,
Yeah,
Dave.
absolutely. I actually really like that. I haven't thought of it like that. In a more broad sense, to me, and this can be different from person to person, when I saw myself as an active musician, to me that meant that I was playing more than I wasn't. And to elaborate, that means
Playing or gigging? What do you mean?
no gigging. Yeah, yeah. So typically, if I have at least bare minimum 1 gig a week, to me that's an active month.
Mm-hmm.
If I falter below that, maybe it's February and it's just a slow month,
Sure.
or it's COVID and it's a slow month.
Or whatever. It's February.
It is what it is. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it is what it is.
Or it's just February, right?
And then I looked to that and I was like, okay, this month did not turn out how I wanted it to. How can I increase my activity? And at the time of this cast, we're looking in mid-April, and I'm looking to next month. My May schedule, I have 16 performances in May to play, and to me, I'm like, okay, that's an active month. That feels good.
And if you're
'Cause
hearing
now-
this after 2021, you must realize that's a big deal right now.
Right, because
Right.
we are still in the throes of COVID at the moment, and May of 2021 being able to get that started, and everything restarting as far as the music industry is going, to have more days gigging than not gigging in a month feels good. Because imagine that, it's with any job. If you work at literally an office job, a retail job, an anything job, you're expecting to work 5 days a week, right? Now, music is a little bit different. Are we working 5 days a week? Gigging, perhaps not, but between that and teaching, yeah, definitely we're working 5, if not 7 days a week sometimes. But to me, active is I am either seeking out gigs on my own volition, or people are hiring me for gigs. And I like to have, I think we've spoken to this before, at a bare minimum of 60-40, where 60% of the gigs I get are under groups that I control, groups that I booked. That way I can have a little bit more say into like what goes into them. And then 40%, I like to have other people hire me because I get to practice other stuff that I otherwise might not have. If I get hired by a country band to go play up at the Tin Roof in Detroit,
Yeah.
that's something that I wouldn't have done without, doing that, because I don't personally own a country band.
And I'm sure you agree with my view on that, which is too, by keeping 40% of your gigs in the community as a sub, it also keeps your name sharp in the community as well.
It does, yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword of maintaining that kind of style in the community, making sure people remember who you are.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a lot of fun. I love getting to play with all these different groups. I think I would be bored if I only played with one group only, because I like playing all these different styles of music. I like to play jazz, blues, funk, R&B, pop music. Pop music is a lot of fun. There's
sure.
something to be said about people getting up and dancing across the floor because they heard their favorite The Weeknd song or something come on or whatever.
Yeah.
So I really do enjoy that aspect of it. And I guess to summarize, to be active to me means that I am at a bare minimum gigging 5 to 6 times a month, with the goal that I'm gigging about 15 ish times a month, if not a little bit more.
All right. What about you, Devin?
Yeah. I mean, now that we're getting to like the less philosophical part of it, yeah,
Well,
the
yeah,
literal.
I mean, what's the actual,
literal part.
okay, yeah. You know what? Hey, I'm Devin Kruger. Oh, what do you do, Devin?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like Dave's saying, well, this actually what I do is this,
Yeah. I mean, active for me.
When do you arrive at becoming able to say, I'm a career, musician?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, I know mine was, especially because at the beginning I was mostly accepting gigs instead of booking them on my own. So the big thing for me was when I could get to the point where I was less than a week into a month, and then my calendar was basically full for that month.
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird. It was a scary place for a minute there, because I could start a lot of months off on the 29th of one month and be like, I have 2 gigs next week. I mean, this next month. And then within 5 days, I was like, I have 15 gigs next month. So we're doing just fine now. But it was always this weird, scary thing of like the first week of each month, I was just waiting for the phone to roll.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
luckily it kept happening. But at the same time, that anxiety also made it where I was like, I really wanted to bring my A game to every gig, because there was nothing on next month's calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And there was certainly nothing on the month after that's calendar. Like those gigs were very far and few between. And working that up to the point where I started having gigs booked out a full year in advance and things like that.
Man.
That was a huge step into security as well, of kind of getting out of that like young mentality of like, okay, now you're just paying, you at first you were just happy to pay your bills, but it's like, you know, now you've gotten like a mortgage on this stuff and like, you know, you bought an animal with it and you got married on it. It's like, okay, we're going to have to step up the big boy part of this and like be an adult. And that's where it was starting to see like, can I have 6 months of a calendar filled out? And once I do that, it's like now I can relax a little bit and feel good about pursuing some other ideas.
Yeah. And what were your strategies, you know, the both of you? I mean, when you got to those points, you know, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, wow, 8 months, holy crap, 12, 12 months out. Were your strategies for self-promotion the very same of what we discussed earlier? You know, had of this, had of that, had a card. This is what was on the card, right?
Yeah. I got better at it. You know, got better at selling yourself. Being like, hey, you know, I am a good player. I do these things professionally. I've played with these people, and you know, just like any industry, once your portfolio grows, all of a sudden, you know, if people start asking, oh, like, what have you done? Well, I've been on this tour. I've recorded with this artist. I've done this thing. I have played at these venues. All of a sudden, you kind of have the credentials to back that up.
Yeah.
And success begets success. So all of a sudden, now you have more people contacting you and more people booking you. And it really snowballs into something bigger and bigger. And that's how you really establish yourself in a city. And that model, I do truly believe works in any city is, you know, once you start establishing your name and it starts to snowball, that name carries weight throughout the city, and people will start hiring you for more and more opportunities and gigs and recording sessions and everything else in between.
Nice.
And what I'm about to say might sound stupid easy, but you'd be blown away with how many of the little things people don't do. And that's actually what really holds them back, which is my big one was just getting better at answering my phone and messages and like getting back to people in timely fashions.
These freaking musicians.
And it's crazy, you know, it's a stereotype, but like a lot of creative types are just, you know,
for the love of God, right? Yeah.
You know, bad about the whole calendar thing. And like I was too, and learning to get everything actually in my calendar and responding to pretty much any message with shorter than 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, those are real goals that like I had to make sure it happened. And I remember it got to the point where I sat down with messaging and I said, once a month, you're going to get on your phone and you're going to message every single person back that you forgot about. I don't care if it's
what a great problem
I don't care if it's a month late. You're going to message them back anyways.
Yeah.
And even if you think you look like a jerk, message them 30 days later.
Whatever, dude.
You're not going to leave it by. You're not going to just forget about it.
You can at least come across as busy instead of an a-hole.
And then at some point, I rolled that back to like every week. Every week you're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Every 2 days you're going to do the same thing. And it finally got to the point where it was like every morning, go through your messages from yesterday and make sure you didn't lose anyone. Yeah. You didn't check it in the car on the way home and then say, I'll get back to that in a minute, and then forgot. It's like, nope, I messaged everyone back like very next morning at the minimum. And it's like,
it's a mechanism.
And
it's
mechanical,
yeah.
Yeah, and I tried going straight to that phase many times of just answer them tomorrow. Do everyone tomorrow. And it just didn't work. I had to build up from like, everyone you didn't answer the last month, just do it. And little things like that for people, if they just admit that they need to work on something and they take on the smallest responsibility first and just actually do it and then go from there. It
might seem like the smallest, but in the grand scheme, it's pretty much the biggest.
Well, yeah. And if you're not doing it, then it's worse. So
what
it's like,
the hell
if you're thinking, what's the point of responding to someone after 30 days?
How else do you think it's going to happen?
Well, what's the point of not?
Yeah. No one's coming to the house and going, you know, knock, knock, knock. Yeah. Right. Instant trivia, real quick. Movie. Let's see if these two know. If you know out there, instant message us, direct message, whatever you want to do. Is it time for the feeding Mitch? You guys know what that is?
It's either Silence of the Lamb or it's a Spinal Tap reference. I don't know.
Time for the feeding Mitch?
I was going to say.
All right, we'll leave you with that.
Huh.
It's one of my most favorite top 10 clips from a scene, from a movie, If anyone out there knows, send us the heads up. All right. I digress. I couldn't help it. The guitar is right here. And I thought, oh my God, I got to do it. Every time I see the E string, I'm just like, oh my God, I got to do it.
It's right there.
All right. So there's only so many things that we can tie to being an active artist. I think we've hit on quite a few. We've given you some ideas on how to generate that position, that transition point from B to C, right? From 2 to 3. We've talked about the importance of, we get it. You want to remain old school, or you want to remain, aloof, or whatever you want to do, and you want to add to that persona, and you want to come across this way or that way. At the end of the day, man, if I can't reach you and I'm a venue owner, or I can't see what you're about ahead of saying, sure, you're pretty much dead in the water. You have to acclimate to these different things that are the conduits between today's gig and tomorrow's gig.
Yeah.
Wow. I got to coin that.
And, it's kind of going back to like both things that I had said, which is like, if you probably do know all the things that you need to be doing. If you're honest with yourself, you know all the steps that you probably should be doing. You know that you should be posting regularly on social media. You know that you should be doing things on multiple platforms. You know you should be answering people. You know you should be you probably know all these things, but it's being honest that you need to do them, and then saying, and every time I do them, it'll be a teeny bit better than last time.
Yeah.
As long as you everything will be better. You do that times time. Whatever you're doing will get better in some shape or form. Go
ahead.
Oh, no, it just depends on what you're doing then, and hopefully you got something to say.
Nice. I think we can probably put a bow on this with this last subject matter, okay? And then as promised, we're going to get to our helium break, which I have now decided will be more of a Q&A, okay, I won't spoil it. Okay, but I'll be the host, and you guys will be the participants. But last but not least, we've touched on this before, listeners know, but we're gonna hit it again. You're active. How do you put a price tag on yourself versus the gig, Dave? And right? Yourself, let's go duo, let's go trio, let's go full band, versus venue, versus first time, tryout, it's the gig tryout, right? Location, or is there? I don't know. But Dave, go ahead.
The golden standard still exists, at least in this area, of the $100 gig. So at the very bare minimum, you should try to get everybody $100 for the gig. Now, every person
even
that's playing on the
duo.
gig. Even if it's a duo.
Okay.
Now, we all fall short of that sometimes. Sometimes it's an easy gig on a weekday, and they're giving you food and drink, and, it's a super easy slot. You're at home and done by 9 o'clock or whatever. So sometimes maybe that doesn't quite line up.
The crowd tips well.
Yeah, but you should try to aim that everybody walks away with $100 in their pocket every single time. And then from there, start negotiating. Now, if this is your first time at a place and if they get you close, take it, work towards it, put on the best show they've seen there, and then next quarter, ask them for a raise. Be like, hey, people really like it. People are now coming to this place specifically to see us, and you're selling more drinks and more food. How about now we ask for a bit of a raise?
Nice, because my note here was, when the upcharge.
Yep.
Nice. I like it, man.
And 9 times out of 10, if you've been doing your job and you've been doing it well, they will give you that raise. Most places
upon asking.
It's
very seldom where they're just going to go, hey, man, you're killing it. We're going to give you more money, right? They're going to always squeeze the lemon.
Well,
right?
yeah, they'll squeeze the lemon unless they really want to keep a band around and make sure that other competing venues don't get you. So the way that, say, Bay does things, a lot of the bars out there, they will give you a raise every summer you're out there. to keep you around and keep you happy and keep you playing at their bar versus the next bar across the street. And some other places will do a similar model where they will pay you a flat rate, and then they'll incentivize you like, hey, if the bar does $1,000 in bar sales, we kick you another $100. If the bar does $2,500 in bar sales, kick you another $100. So they incentivize you. They pay you good right out of the gate, and they make sure that everybody gets that benchmark $100. And then they'll say, okay, we've done our part. Now we're asking you to do your part and bring more people to us. We're already an established bar, and we already have a lot of people coming here naturally. But if you can bolster that and bring in even more people through the door and help us create more sales, you then benefit directly.
Yeah. It needs to be a collaborative thing, right?
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
you're working together. Well, hey, I'll bring more people in. Or, hey, last week I brought a lot more people in, and they had to wait 20 minutes for a drink.
Yep.
You know, like what
Yeah.
are we doing here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is, right? You know, right.
But yeah. So
It's collaborative.
You want to, I always say that you should try to get $100 per person, no matter where you go, because that's a pretty decent going rate. And that's for your typical 3-hour show.
that was my next question.
And then as you establish more and more, you start charging more. So like, one of the groups that I play with, they've been a cover band for quite a while, and they've gotten some accolades. And at this point now, for a 3-hour performance for a 5-piece band, where it used to be they would charge $500, we now charge $800. So we don't pack up our gear for usually anything less than $800.
Nice.
So that's now guaranteeing that everybody in the band walks away with $150.
Cool.
Then, a little bit more and more, and then you keep, the same way that you would build with a company or build with a job. You want to create those relationships and the rapport with the venue owners, with the booking agents, and constantly be delivering an A-plus product to make your raise worth it and them afraid to lose you.
Interesting. Devin?
Yeah, I mean, to go off with what Dave's saying, I mean, the thing is that the environment should be made in a way that the bars want to incentivize bands who do more than what you need to do to clear the $300 minimum. And the only way to do that and incentivize a band to go out and practice once a week and do all these things and build a following over multiple years is to make it financially acceptable for them to do all those things. Now, going on new string, another thing I think is important is not only knowing what the bare minimum a bar will, offer or a venue, but also if you have friends in the area, especially in some of the bigger bands, you should find out where do these bars cap off. If you're the creme de la creme, where do they top off? Is $800 their top off? I remember a band in town getting like $2,000 one time for a place. Holiday, mind you, holiday event. But all of a sudden I was just in the back of my head going like, okay, I know what that bar pays me. And now I know that if you're so-and-so, you could maybe get this. So now I know that there's a range where they could maybe filter in between. And it's like, I might not ever make $2,000 there, but at least I know that I can start asking for some more, and I know that they have the wiggle room. So you get to learn where you're working within. On a completely different note, when you start working inside of kind of the corporate fields, another good thing to know is what is like the minimum pay? What is the standard pay? What are they expecting? When they hire bands for a summer festival that happens every year or something like that, what are bands typically making? What's the negotiable range? And it's like, okay, look, they're going to pay anyone from between $500 and $1,500 maybe for like an hour and a half slot. Okay, that's good to know, and that's all we're going to get. No more, no less kind of thing. We can sit somewhere in there, and they might pay based on band members. They might not care whoever you are. They're just like, you're going to make this much to this much depending on if you're a 5-piece to a 9-piece. That's the only reason you're making different. And then on top of that, it might be, do you want to pick up other skills other than the instrument you're playing? Because sometimes those locations might not have an established sound company, and maybe you're someone who has dabbled in doing sound. Now you can offer your services for the afternoon, and you might make more money doing sound than you would have as a player.
Wow.
Maybe you have a light rig, or maybe you know how to do rigging. You're going to make a lot more money doing rigging or doing lighting for an event than you would as a player. And not to get into this too much, I don't want to I don't want to depress any of our musicians out there, but I did a stint for a while, doing rigging and backlining for shows, big shows. WWE come through, Stranahan come through, all these things. And there's a lot of money that goes into the setup and teardown of stages, the lighting, the rigging, everything that goes into all these big performances, and even some of the smaller festivals that might happen downtown where they have like 3 guys from Union on the clock making $25 an hour for a 12-hour shift. If you think he's not making more than the bass player of band 1 out of 10, he is. So
wow, powerful note.
Yeah,
man.
so
and don't forget, talk about the fiber optic networking that entails.
Yeah.
Right? You're just laying cable, right?
yeah, so now you're dealing with the fact that you're in a space where you're not negotiating different prices. Now you're deciding how many jobs can I pick up and what skills do I have. So if you're able to double dip it all, maybe you can, and that's very dependent on the town, the unions, the events, whether or not you can do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Very
that's
cool.
that's another model, because if you find out you've hit your glass ceiling and there's nowhere left for you to go, but you find out that, hey, if I just roadied for that event every time and they told me it was cool to play with my band, like I can make another $100 for the day.
Bam.
I would do that. Like it's or like whatever that is.
Yeah. Tipping. Just saw you guys recently, a couple days ago at a show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Really dug the setup. The sound was amazing. Everything was great. The way it was coming through, the momentum you were building, with your first set, your song builds, and just greasing the wheel and opening everyone's ears, eyes, hearts, souls up to where you were going. And I thought it was really cool to see that kind of like street performer thing where you had the guitar case set up, man, and it was like, look, man, throw some green on this red velvet.
Oh, yeah.
Right, inside the case. It worked for me. It worked for my sister. Of course, we're partial, but it was just that good, But I really dug that, and in past lives, we've had creative ideas like, put a little river, wooden riverboat out there, put a little this out there. I've never been a fan of the over obvious. Which is like tips, the whole written word. No, put something out that's obvious, a little float boat, something that's obvious. It's in front of you. The guitar case, no brainer.
Everyone knows what the guitar case is for.
Exactly.
And
the hat,
yeah.
the empty, the upside down hat or whatever.
All you need is a vessel and $2.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
You need 2 starter dollars,
Yeah.
which I got from my days working
some
in a
green
coffee
crumbs
shop.
instead of
just so that
breadcrumbs.
because if they see it empty, no one's going to be the first
What the
person
hell
to
is
throw
that
something
doing
in
there?
there. I don't know why, but they just won't.
Right.
So you throw a couple dollars in there, and
Yeah.
you don't have to write tips on a sign. I mean, you
God,
can.
no,
I don't
dude.
have any problem with that.
I think
But you don't
that's
need
just-
to. If you
but
see,
whatever.
if they see money, they'll do it. If they see a jar and there's money in it, people will know what's going on.
Yeah.
We live in America. This is a tipping country. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
pretty
I
strong.
got you.
Yeah.
All right, so keep it real. All right, as promised, our next segment is the Helium Chronicles. This segment is going to be centered around trivia. I'm going to ask a couple questions, which are based around things I've said that even I don't know what it means, and then things that maybe have been said that we could further explain. All right, here we go. All right, so here are the rules. I ask the question. Everybody here are helium bags. I'll ask a question, and then will be a short pause as we inhale,
And crinkle.
and then we try to answer the question as best as we can. So
I did not inhale.
let's rock, scissors, paper for who goes first. Dave, Devin, ready?
Yeah.
On 3, 1, 2, 3. Wow. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Double scissors. 1, 2, 3. Ho!
There you go, Dave.
All right. Devin's up.
What? Okay, I'm up. Loser goes.
Okay, so here's the first question.
What does... Wait.
Explain the term squeeze the lemon.
Squeeze my lemon. Well, I believe the term squeeze the lemon comes from
Old English. I actually have no idea.
Right. Devin?
I would imagine it's just like a form of mastication for the Brits.
Yeah.
I was assuming that's what it's for, but probably
say
from a
it.
partner,
Yeah.
not from yourself,
I
not
always
self.
say it. Yeah. Okay. So we don't know. That's an opportunity for you
right.
listeners
I
out
just
there
know
to
from
let
Led
us
Zeppelin.
know what you think squeeze the lemon means. Okay. Hold on one second. Oh, here's my next one. Now, these are things Ryan says. Yeah. So it's not necessarily what it actually means in the real world. It just means like, what the hell is Ryan talking about? Okay, hold on.
Okay, the next one is when Ryan says laying cable. What does that possibly mean?
I believe the term laying cable means to,
Well,
I actually have. Oh, I'm 0 for 2 on this. Oh no.
Devin, what in God's name do I mean when I say, well, it's like laying cable?
I'd hope to God you mean putting the cables on the floor. I don't know what else I would do.
Is that a Wait.
Is it a euphemism?
Yeah. Is that
Well-
is that like a sexual
Yeah, I think in some circles.
some sort of euphemism for
Hold on, let me see if I can read my writing. This is the last one.
All
Drum
right.
roll. Okay. God, I can't read my writing. Oh well. Let's put it this way. Last alert to those listeners. Hold on.
Alert, alert,
Ready, everybody?
alert.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
All right, if you have some ideas on what questions you want answered in the Helium Chronicles, send them to us direct. DI or
DI.
email us or
Yeah.
Email.
No, we don't want emails. Actually, don't email us. I don't want to see any emails. No. Go ahead.
Emails are the worst. No, dude.
That was a good lungful there.
Oh, yours is good. I like yours. Yours is even better.
All right. So
Helium tastes weird.
it's fun.
Is it the helium or the aluminum balloon?
It's probably it's a little bit of both. I'm sure it's a little bit of both.
All right. So rest assured, we had balloons to work with today, but Laserlight has bought an entire 20-pound tank of helium
Oh boy.
for the next series of Chronicles. So this has been it. Dave, sign off.
We should do an entire one with helium.
Oh
Entire-
my God.
I think you might actually. There's like helium poisoning if you do too much, right?
Is it really?
I don't know.
I don't know. I did a lot in my
I think
time.
it depends on the
Well,
concentration
you know
of
what?
it.
That might
Because
answer
they do
that
it
question.
for deep sea divers at weeks at a time, but I think you have to get the percentage right in the air.
I believe the percentage when you really
Get down to brass tacks. Because they use it as an oxygen substitute for high pressure
do they?
environments.
Oh,
Did not know
it's like
that.
a counter.
So
Well,
it
I'll tell you
doesn't light
what.
on fire.
Oh, wow. So, you know what? I'm going to figure out a way by next week to hook up the hookah
Oh God.
to the helium tank for the love of God, right? Boom. I mean, that's, you can't get any better than that.
I'll just take a CPAPs machine, hook it directly up to the nose.
I'm pretty sure if you take a hookah with helium, it's flammable, right?
Ooh.
It's probably somewhat flammable.
Yeah, well,
Well,
cut out the
helium's not
Bunsen burner
flammable. That's
effect.
hydrogen.
Well, there you
You're
go.
thinking of the Hindenburg.
It might be the helium talking, though. We don't know.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, we hope you enjoyed it. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, sustaining your success. You know what the number 1 rule is? Get out there and take care of business. The world is calling. Pick it up. That's what we always say around here, man. This has been Laserlight. We're out. Out. Yep. No.
Pick it up.
Pick it up. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here we
Pick it
go.
up.
One more time. No, we're not done. Let's do pick it up. The world is calling. Ready?
Okay.
All right. Ready? Devin's got pick it up. Dave's got the world is calling. Ready?
Pick it up.
The world is calling.
Wow. Try
Oh,
it again. Yeah. This has been Laserlight Presents All About the Gig.